This is Adam Jadhav with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. I'm here at the St. Charles Convention Center with former Governor Mike Huckabee. Governor, first of all, tell me why you're here tonight.
Well, VTech Caring Foundation is a group that I have now done several events for, and the reason is because I think that they are doing an extraordinarily unique service within the pro-life family across America. They're not going out there and talking about what they're against. They're really giving young women across this country the opportunity to have options for taking really charge of their own lives. They're using mass media advertising as a way to reach people with a message of hope and encouragement.
Obviously, however, it is now also 15 days to the election, so we're going to have to talk politics here. First of all, what have you been doing this election cycle? Was my understanding you were going to be in southwest Missouri. Have you been able to do that, and what kind of a reception are you getting?
I was campaigning with State Treasurer candidate Brad Lager today in Springfield. We had a great event there, packed a place out there at the party headquarters in Greene County. Before that, I had a round table. In fact, twice as many people showed up, and it was at a restaurant. It's supposed to be sort of just a small gathering, and it turned out we had about half the people standing and didn't even have a room for them. What I'm seeing is that there are a lot of people who are very interested in this election, and to be honest, on both sides, and that this has created an extraordinary level of energy. People know that there's a lot at stake in this election.
Obviously, we've seen Senator McCain was here this morning. Bill Clinton is here probably right now. What kind of a reaction are you getting to Senator McCain when you're out there on the stump?
I think people are rallying around Senator McCain. One of the things that probably did as much to stir support for him was nothing he said. It was something Barack Obama said to Joe the plumber. There were 4 words that just sort of reset this whole election process, and that's when he said, "Spread the wealth around." And it suddenly occurred to many people that that's taking us in a backwards direction, back to the days of really a welfare system where you pay people not because they worked, but because they have a pulse. And we saw what it did to our economy. We saw what it did to people. It enslaved them, not empowered them. And I think it just sent a real wake-up call to a lot of people. And the way that Joe himself was treated, I had him on my Fox News Channel show this weekend, and it's pretty remarkable hearing people who stood out on his lawn and, they're vetting a guy who simply asked a question. We're getting more vetting being done now to some ordinary guy asking a question than was being done of a lot of people who ran for office.
You're talking about the tone of the campaign here, yet John McCain has actually been the one criticized mostly for going negative. A new CNN poll was out today showing that most Americans believe I think I saw, upwards of 80% believe he's just gone negative. Can you talk about the tone of the campaign on both sides, but specifically Senator McCain?
Well, every 4 years, in fact every 2 years, every election cycle, whether it's a national election or a state election, people always say this is the worst it's ever been. We just assume that it is. Truth is it isn't. It's the same as it's always been. It always gets nasty at the end. Both sides end up doing it. I wish it didn't happen this way. I frankly wish we would just say, okay, here's my platform. The other guy would say, here's mine, and be done with it. Let people make the decision. Negative advertising is used largely because people believe it works. I do think, though, it sort of comes through the law of diminishing returns, that there is a point at which it becomes noise and people don't start paying attention to it anymore. They just lose that. I hope that what Senator McCain does and Barack Obama does is turn the focus on why they should be elected president.
Let's talk a little bit about the subject you're here for, and specifically abortion rights. Senator McCain has been criticized by folks on the right in the past for not being strongly enough against abortion. How do you respond to that, particularly when you're out defending him?
Well, it's not hard to defend him when you look at the alternative. Barack Obama has one of the most radical views on abortion of anybody who ever has run for a significant major office. The single most liberal voting record in the entire United States Senate, according to organizations like Americans for, I guess, was it Democracy or whoever judges these things. That's pretty astounding when you have guys like Bernie Sanders and others who are behind him. His view on the life question, though, is the most radical. He actually voted in Illinois against a law that would have required medical intervention in the case of the victim of a botched abortion born alive. Now, he has said that he's not for infanticide. I believe him at that. But I don't know why he voted the way he did for that particular bill. He claimed that it was like a bill that they already had. But he has never been able to articulate a pro-life position, and in fact, he does believe in really unrestricted abortion rights. And that's way to the left of most Americans, even who believe there should be an allowance for abortion, but not late term, and certainly not sort of unrestricted abortion. When he uses code words like, let's keep it rare but legal, that's just a way of saying let people do what they wish. I think it's a dangerous issue.
Last question here, the economy. Now, when you were running for the Republican nomination for the presidency, you were sometimes accused of being too populist for your own party, and now that's the criticism that's made of Barack Obama, that well, today they brought out the word socialism. How do you view the race in terms of the economy when John McCain has acknowledged it's not his strong suit? Barack Obama is being criticized as, one step to the right of communism.
Well, I would think, first of all, there's a big difference between I was called a populist but never a socialist. And the reason is because I don't believe in spreading the wealth around. I think that is a completely absurd economic viewpoint. You should reward work. You should encourage it. You should empower it. You should make it so that if government's going to spend money, they don't spend money to give people money. They spend money to give people the training so they can get jobs. That makes sense. It does not make sense to give people a check because they have a pulse. That makes no sense. We've been there before with the welfare system. And socialism is not communism. Socialism as a political form is simply the idea that you as a government decide that there's a certain level of money at which that's all a person needs, and then you take from them arbitrarily, and then you redistribute that person's money to somebody else who did not work for it. That is socialism. That's what he advocates when he says, I'm going to give, quote, he says, a tax break to 95% of the people. 40% of the people don't pay taxes. So in order to give them a tax break, what you're really going to do is give them unearned money from other taxpayers. You're going to shift income around.
And the Obama campaign has come out and said that they're not looking to give any sort of tax break to people who don't actually pay anything or work. They're saying to working families. They also criticized John McCain for having a relatively hefty corporate tax break package. How do you feel about that, and is that the best way to give tax breaks?
Well, actually, what we should do is not have any corporate tax at all. Corporations don't pay tax. It's the biggest joke in the world. Corporations collect a tax, put it into the cost of their product in doing business, and pass it on to you and me, the consumer. So we're paying the corporate taxes, not the corporations. And raising a corporate tax doesn't do anything but increase the cost of a product or a service, and it means that if the corporation is competing against a foreign supplier, chances are they're going to have fewer jobs because the foreign supplier isn't paying that tax to import the product here. What we really need to do is to have a consumption tax, not a tax on productivity, but a tax on consumption. Eliminate all taxes, not just on companies, but on individuals. When you get your paycheck, you ought to get the whole paycheck, nothing taken out. And you'd pay taxes when you bought something, not when you earned something.
Beefed up sales tax, I think that's a conversation for another day. Yeah. Governor, thanks very much for talking with me. Again, this is Adam Jadhav with the St. Louis Post-Dispatch. For more election coverage right now through November 4th, go to stltoday.com/politics.